Hello all of you party people, welcome to another review. In this review we're going to be checking out a blaster that has some incredible ammo capacity, and that blaster is the Dart Zone Magnum. Holds up to 40 darts and gets up to 80 feet. Let's start with the packaging. The packaging for this blaster looks like basically anything else. Kid in the corner, the blaster itself, darts, drums, and on the back you have just a couple of little key features and stuff, including 40 rounds, super darts, and flies up to 80 feet, and some of the things that you'll find on the blaster. But I'm excited to open this up, so let's get it out of the box. Inside the box, you get your instructional pamphlet, you get the 40 round drum, you get 40 darts, and you get the Magnum itself. So instead of going over the comfort of the shell first, we're going to go over some of the features of this blaster because there are a few going on here. And the first one I'd like to talk about has to do with this part right here, because I know some of you are already going, what is up with this thing right here? Like, it looks like something that's just going to get in the way of my wrist, and it looks really uncomfortable. So this part right here is actually like an arm rest or a wrist rest of sort, and it slides out, and this part flaps down like so. And you can adjust it to however long your arm is or whatever like that, whatever's comfortable to you. And it just does this. That's really the purpose of it, is to, I guess, to help you keep the blaster up for when you have 40 rounds loaded into it. But, interesting idea. I'm not really sure, you know, if it's really necessary, especially when this wants to swing around real easily. And from the looks of it and from reading through the instructions, there isn't a way to lock this in place, and this is going to get very loose very fast over time, just from the feeling of the plastic. So right off the bat, a note to Dart Zone: add some sort of lock to this, because this is going to just start swinging around. Like, I would actually recommend taking it off, because I don't really see a point to it. Now, I was going to go over another feature of this blaster, and I realized this way too late, because at the bottom of the instructions it says this is a one-time thing and not something you can do over and over again. When you first get the blaster, the drum is off the blaster. You put it into this section by pulling this little nub out, and then it locks into place. So you cannot take the drum off and put a new one on, which, now that I think about it, really should be some sort of feature to this blaster. Swappable 40 round drums, because why not? Having the option of having swappable 40 round drums would really take this blaster up to a whole nother level of getting these things ready and then just being able to toss them aside and load another one. And 40 rounds is no joke, and if you could swap these out, this thing would be a killer HVZ weapon. But no, this thing is now locked into place, and I feel like they really missed the mark with something that would have made this blaster way cooler. But moving on from that, let's talk about the last little feature before we go over the comfort and stuff of this blaster. This blaster has slam fire, which is really nice to see in a blaster that's not a Nerf blaster, which is great because it has a lot of ammo to spam down range. The Magnum is a very comfortable blaster. The grip on this is like the perfect size for my hand. My pinky does rub up against the little swiveling platform for the wrist rest, but it still has a tiny bit more room for a bit of pinky expansion. So if your hands are a bit fatter, they will be comfortable on here. And smaller hands, I think, will find this comfortable as well. The grip is excellent. The priming grip bar, whatever you want to call it, the priming area on the top is a nice size. It fills up my hand really well. The grooves on the top don't really do much, but you do have a good amount of hold area, and it's just a nice prime. Like, you know when it's primed back. So very, very comfortable blaster overall. In the back, at the front, I guess you could hold on to it like this. The only problem with that is that my arm at least, is rubbing into the drum. Holding it up like this is a bit weird, but I don't see myself, you know, holding it up here. My hand's probably going to be back here for like 95% of the time. It's probably going to be here just when I'm like relaxing and moving around. One thing I'd like to note about the Magnum, and I was going to save this for the cons part of the video, but it really should be mentioned now, is that the plastic on this looks and feels cheap. Just by flexing a little bit, you can see how much that drum is moving. Just from me flexing this a little bit, the plastic looks and feels cheap. It's not like a high quality plastic that you expect with Nerf or something. When I saw this on the shelf, it looked cheap. It kind of has that Dollar General, like, plastic gun sort of look to it. It feels better than it looks, but it's not really a good quality plastic. I feel like they could at least put some support ribbing in there, because this is ridiculous. The amount of flex going on with this without even like trying is a bit concerning. But I thought I'd note that now, and I'm probably going to put that at the end of the video as well. When you're ready to start playing with your Dart Zone Magnum, getting this thing set up is very easy. You take your darts, load them into the barrel of the drum, and this will work with Couche darts and Elite darts. You just slot them in. They're the same size as the darts that come with it, and you prime your blaster to get ready to fire it, and you can advance the drum with the blaster primed, and you fire it off. And then to slam fire, you hold down the trigger, or auto fire in this case, you hold down the trigger, and you just do that. So, with all that stuff gone over, let's take this outside, put it through the chronograph, and play around with it. And now I'm gonna see how fast I can get through all 40 rounds. So here we go. The performance of the Dart Zone Magnum is very comparable to that of Nerf's Elite line, which is really great to see coming from a brand that you mostly associate with like budget blasters. So having this brand be able to reach up to that of the biggest rival they have is great to see, and really puts this up on a even battleground. And now it's time for the pros and cons of this blaster and whether or not I think it's worth your money. So let's start off with the cons, with one of them being something that you probably noticed during my shooting tests, and that is the slam fire auto fire feature. The auto fire feature on this blaster only lets you really fire slightly faster than if you were to prime, push forward, then fire, which I guess is kind of what they got out of it. So instead of having to go, you can. And if you go any faster than that, you are going to jam. If you go into this blaster expecting to slam fire like you're used to with a strong arm, a raider, a rampage, an elite alpha trooper, you're gonna have a bad time with this blaster, and you are going to jam like I did. So the auto fire feature to this is not so much a faster rate of fire feature, it's just a you don't have to do as many steps feature, which is a con in my opinion, because when I hear slam fire or auto fire, I expect to be able to spam stuff, and I feel that really puts this blaster at a disadvantage because you're not really getting a higher rate of fire, which means if you needed it, it's not there. And with 40 rounds, I was expecting to be able to just fire this thing off downrange like a madman, and that kind of takes the fun away from it, is not being able to use all the large ammo capacity to just spam people. That's a con in my book. Might not be to you, but to me it is. The second con, in my opinion, is this little wrist rest, foldable, collapsing, whatever it is. While the idea behind it is nice, having something that kind of, you can put your wrist on and leverages the blaster a little bit, it doesn't work in the way you want it to. At least to me, it does not work like I want it to. It's always swinging out of the way. I would always have to move it out of the way. And if you are to collapse it, well, then it doesn't really go away anywhere. It's still there. And I feel like they either need to, well, they should do both of these, but get a locking position for it so it's not doing this all the time. And possibly I would actually extend the blaster just a little bit so it has an area that it can slot into, which would be really nice to see. You would still have this out there, but it's not brushing up against your wrist. It doesn't have a fold to it, so it does that. This is just annoying to me, and it really doesn't make any difference. The blaster is still very light without it, and if you were to get this, I would say just take this off immediately, because it doesn't do much. It does something, but it doesn't really do anything amazing. It doesn't do what it should, so just get rid of it. The third con I have is kind of in the neutral, because it's not detrimental to the blaster, it doesn't ruin anything, but it is something that's not good, and that is the plastic quality. This plastic is not very good. It flexes. I already showed you this, but it flexes, and it's just meh. Meh is the word that I'm going to use for this. Easy way to fix this would be open it up, put some like epoxy putty or some resin in there to stiffen it up. But what Dart Zone could do is just add some more internal ribbing to just keep the flex down. Like, it's just weird how flexy it is. I don't like it. I do have one neutral about the blaster, and that is I wish there were swappable drums with the Magnum. If in stock form or without modifying it, you could swap these drums out, that would be such an excellent just thing to add to the blaster. It would really beef up the coolness of the blaster. Not sure why Dart Zone didn't go that way. You don't necessarily have to sell the drums separately because the blaster is decently priced. We'll get to that in a bit. But just having that option would be awesome. The pros I have for this blaster should be pretty darn obvious by now. One being, it is a very comfortable blaster. Mostly everything about this blaster is very comfortable, with the stock being like a weird mix. The grip is excellent, and the priming thing has a nice size to it, so it's a very comfortable blaster. I guess if you were to hold this while walking, this front area is also very comfortable. It's lightweight, and it just works. The second pro I have is 40 rounds. There's not a lot of blasters out there that have a 40 round drum on it. I think the closest we had was the Colossal Blitz with its 36 per drum, which is pretty big already, but this takes it a step further. 40 rounds is no joke, and it's just really cool to see a blaster have that much capacity in such a small form. This blaster is very small. The drum does stick out a bit, but it's nothing that gets in the way, in my opinion. Like, it bulges out, but it's still very compact, so that's great to see in a blaster. Just lots of ammo capacities. I'm a fan, and I know there's a lot of other people out there who like that kind of thing. The third pro is performance. The Magnum does very well with performance. It is comparable and competitive with that of Nerf blasters, so that's excellent to see, especially from a brand that no one really ever talks about too much. It's one of those kind of things that's just on the side at like Toys R Us or at Target, and you don't really pay attention to. But to see this thing put up a good fight against Nerf stuff is excellent to see, especially for the price, which we're going to get into right now. The price of this blaster is $20, which I feel is a decent buy. It's a small, compact blaster that shoots very well and has a large ammo capacity. So I feel like $20 is a very decent buy, if not a good buy, for this blaster. I'm happy with my purchase, and I want to see what all you can really do with it sometime in the future. But yeah, in its stock form, I'd give it a thumbs up for price. So if you're interested in picking up a Dart Zone Magnum for yourself, or perhaps for someone else, links will be in the description as always. But for now, that was an unboxing, review, shooting demonstration, whatever you want to call it, of the Dart Zone Magnum, the little form factor blaster with a lot of ammo capacity that puts up a fight against the bigger brands. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a great day wherever you are.